She had just said yes. In front of family and friends, her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, not yet, but joy. For a moment, she was living the dream so many women hope for. A surprise proposal, a room full of applause, and a man on one knee saying he'd love her forever. That same man would call 911 just days later, to report her death. Amanda Williams, a beloved Cleveland hairstylist, mother, grandmother, and entrepreneur, was found shot to death in her own bedroom, by the man who gave her a ring. But what happened between the yes and the final goodbye? This is the story of Amanda Williams, and the terrifying silence between love and betrayal. If you're new here, welcome to True Crime Watch HD. We dive deep into the cases that raise more questions than answers, and explore the hidden truths behind the headlines. If you want more stories like this, be sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, let's begin. Before her name appeared in headlines, Amanda Williams was building something beautiful. Born on April 18, 1977 in Cleveland, Ohio, Amanda came from a large, tight-knit family rooted in love, community, and faith. She graduated from Shaw High School and went on to earn a Bachelor of Science from Cleveland State University, all while raising her 2 children and later becoming a proud grandmother. But it wasn't just education or motherhood that defined Amanda. It was hustle and heart. For more than 25 years, she worked tirelessly as a hairstylist, eventually launching her own salon, a La Mode Styles in University Heights. She defied the odds, growing a brand, a client base, and even her own line of haircare products. And she didn't just survive, she thrived in an industry where most new salons close in under 2 years. Amanda was magnetic. You didn't just go to her for hair. You went for hope. She had this way of making you feel seen, empowered, and beautiful, inside and out. Her online presence reflected that. Her videos were joyful, her energy contagious. She was more than a stylist. She was a motivator, a mentor, and to many, a symbol of what's possible when a woman builds her own path. But even the brightest lights cast long shadows. In 2017, Amanda met Terrell Edwards, a hospital worker with a clean record and a quiet smile. To outsiders, they looked like a power couple. She was flourishing in business. He was steady and supportive. They shared vacations, birthday surprises, inside jokes. Their social media told a story of love, trust, and years of shared memories. But in private, cracks were forming. Arguments, distance, red flags that Amanda began to quietly notice. The kind that starts small, control disguised as concern, mood swings masked as stress. Still, she held on, like so many do, hopeful that love would smooth out the chaos. By early 2023, something shifted. Terrell proposed. Amanda said yes. The engagement video was heartwarming. The comments poured in. Beautiful couple. She deserves this. Finally. But behind Amanda's smile was hesitation she hadn't yet put into words. What no one knew, not even her closest friends, was that Amanda had been planning to leave. October 9, 2023. Warrensville Heights was quiet. The leaves were turning red. And inside a home on Sunset Drive, everything Amanda had worked for, her business, her family, her future, was about to unravel. That evening, Amanda and Terrell had been arguing. Again. The fight started over a text message Terrell said Amanda ignored that morning. But this wasn't new. They'd argued before. They had even gone to couples therapy. But something about that night was different. By 11:30 p.m., police received a 911 call. On the line was Terrell. His voice was shaky. He told dispatchers he had just shot his fiancé. Officers arrived within minutes. Inside the bedroom they found Amanda. Multiple gunshot wounds. Unresponsive. Her daughter and young granddaughter had been in the house. First responders rushed her to South Point Hospital. Doctors tried to save her. They couldn't. Amanda Williams, 46 years old, successful, loved, engaged, was pronounced dead that night. Her killer didn't flee. He waited. Terrell Edwards told investigators he acted in self-defense. That Amanda had grabbed a kitchen knife. That she was angry. That she had threatened him. That she left him with no choice. But the evidence would tell a different story. Terrell said he feared for his life. That Amanda was the aggressor. But prosecutors would later uncover a video. One Terrell himself recorded. And once that footage was played in court, the question wasn't just if he killed her, but whether he had planned it all along. What Terrell didn't count on was his own phone. As officers collected evidence from the home on Sunset Drive, they recovered a disturbing piece of digital evidence. A series of shaky, dimly lit videos, taken by Terrell himself. At first glance, the footage was confusing, disjointed, muffled voices, shadows. But then, it started to make sense. The videos weren't just random. They were an attempt to document what was happening. Or perhaps, to control the narrative before it began. In one clip, Amanda is heard in the background, angry, yes, but not violent. Her voice is strained. She's telling Terrell to leave. Not begging. Not hysterical. Just firm. You need to go, she says. I want you out. There's no visible knife. No screaming. No charging. Instead, it's Amanda standing near the bed. And Terrell, filming from across the room, holding something the camera doesn't quite show. But one thing is clear, she's not attacking. She's not lunging. And she isn't holding anything. In fact, at one point, she places something down. That moment, that simple motion, would later become the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Because what Amanda set down was the knife. Terrell told police Amanda came at him with the blade. But the video shows otherwise. It shows her stepping away. That's when Terrell retrieves something from under the mattress. That something is a gun. He doesn't yell. He doesn't warn her. He doesn't ask her to stop. There is no put it down. No, don't make me use this. No effort to de-escalate. Just silence. Then 6 gunshots. Amanda collapses, off camera, as the phone drops. And then, the screen goes dark. Despite the footage, despite the 911 call, and despite Amanda's body lying on the floor, Terrell Edwards was not immediately charged. Authorities cited insufficient evidence. The community, however, saw something different. They saw a woman silenced. A mother. A grandmother. A business owner. A friend. Amanda's daughter, Tyler, was in the house that night. Along with her own young child, Amanda's granddaughter. Tyler's voice would become the rallying cry that changed the direction of this case. She posted videos, organized vigils, started hashtags, contacted news outlets. She wasn't just grieving, she was fighting. Fighting for her mother. Terrell had no felony record. He worked in healthcare. Quiet. Low profile. Clean cut. But as Amanda's family spoke out, another version of Terrell emerged. One marked by manipulation, emotional volatility, and allegedly abuse. According to Amanda's loved ones, this wasn't the first time Terrell had gotten physical. One friend recalled Amanda showing up to work with bruises, carefully concealed beneath makeup and sleeves. Another described a 2019 incident, when Terrell was arrested for assault. And then, there was the protection order. Filed in 2020. By a different woman. A woman who claimed Terrell had stalked her, threatened her, tried to control her. None of this had come out publicly. Until now. And suddenly, Amanda's final hours felt less like a shocking turn, and more like a ticking clock. Pressure grew. Social media campaigns. Church leaders. Community activists. Local politicians. Amanda's funeral had been filled with flowers and photos, but also frustration. People demanded to know, why was Terrell free? 23 days after Amanda's death, the tide shifted. The Warrensville Heights Police Department released a statement. A grand jury, after reviewing evidence, had voted to indict Terrell Edwards on multiple charges, including murder and domestic violence. An arrest warrant was issued. And suddenly the man who had walked free was now a wanted suspect. But when police tried to find him, he was gone. For days his location was unknown. And the fear that he might flee began to rise. Until, on November 3 RD, Terrell walked into a police station and turned himself in. He was booked and held on a $1 million bond. Now, the real case could begin. As Terrell sat in jail awaiting trial, prosecutors began assembling a case built on inconsistencies. His story would change, multiple times. He'd say Amanda lunged at him. Then claimed she held him hostage. Then said she threatened his life. But prosecutors weren't relying on his words. They had something stronger. They had the video. The movements. The silence. The moment she set the knife down. And the choice he made after. By the time Amanda Williams' case reached a courtroom in early 2024, it wasn't just about what happened on October 9th. It was about what led up to that moment. The months of unraveling tension, the warning signs that went unseen, and the final act of violence that no one could reverse. Sitting across from the jury was Terrell Edwards, the man who proposed to Amanda. The man who said he loved her. The man who claimed he had no choice but to pull the trigger. He was charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of domestic violence. The trial began not with drama, but with silence. And as the evidence came to light, so did the truth he never thought would follow him to court. Assistant Prosecutor Kevin Fiancé was the first to address the jury. His words were calm, controlled, but surgical. He painted a picture of a man who couldn't stand to lose control. Amanda Williams wasn't just killed, he said. She was executed. In her own bedroom. In front of her daughter and granddaughter. By a man who couldn't accept that she no longer wanted him there. He told jurors they'd hear from witnesses. See texts. Hear the audio. Watch the video. And that by the end of the trial, there would be no question that Amanda's death was not a tragedy of chance, but a consequence of choice. Then the defense stood up. Terrell's attorney, Andy Petropolius, had a different story. He said Amanda wasn't a victim, at least not that night. He claimed she was out of control. That she had grabbed a knife. That she backed Terrell into a corner. That in a moment of fear, he reacted. He didn't plan this, the defense said. He panicked. But prosecutors had something stronger than panic. They had tape. When the jury saw the video Terrell recorded on his phone, the room fell silent. Not because it was graphic, but because it was haunting. The audio alone was enough to unsettle even seasoned attorneys. Amanda's voice was firm, tired. She told him to leave. Terrell's voice was calm, calculated. He said little, just enough to mark the moment. What he captured wasn't chaos. It was quiet defiance. A woman reclaiming her home, her safety. And then, 6 gunshots. No struggle. No sign of danger. Just a moment of choice, and irreversible violence. Prosecutor Fiancé asked jurors one question. If you were truly afraid for your life, why did you go back inside? Why didn't you run? Why didn't you call the police? There were no answers. Amanda's daughter Tyler took the stand. Her voice trembled, but she didn't falter. She recalled the night of the shooting, how she had just tucked her daughter into bed. How the argument between Amanda and Terrell had escalated. How Amanda begged him to leave. How her mother never made threats. Tyler was there. In the house. She heard the shots. I remember the sound, she said. But I also remember the silence that came right after. Amanda's son, Tristan Bentley, submitted a statement through the family's attorney. He didn't focus on the shooting. He talked about holidays. How Amanda always decorated early. How she'd call her kids every Sunday just to say she loved them. How their house didn't feel like home anymore. One of Amanda's longtime friends testified about previous concerns. Bruises, unexplained injuries, missed events she normally wouldn't skip. They didn't have proof of abuse. But they had a feeling. And now they had confirmation. The defense tried to regain ground. They called Terrell to the stand, a risky move. He sat stiff, shoulders square, voice low. He told the jury Amanda was angry that night. That she had grabbed a kitchen knife. That she told him, if you don't leave, you're going to have to sleep with one eye open. He claimed she held him hostage. That she blocked the door. That she wouldn't let him leave. He said he put his guns in the car to avoid temptation. That he feared she might use them on him. And when he came back inside, he said she came at him. I shot because I was scared, Terrell said. She had me so scared with that knife. But the prosecution was ready. On cross-examination, they dismantled the timeline. They pointed out how Terrell had time to walk outside. Remove weapons. Return. Grab a different gun. Begin recording again. This wasn't a man fearing for his life, Fiancé said. This was a man trying to document his version of events in case he needed to defend them later. They also reminded the jury, at no point in the video does Amanda lunge. At no point does Terrell warn her. At no point does he attempt to flee. He just shoots. On March 4, 2024, after hours of deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom. Everyone stood. Terrell sat expressionless. Amanda's family held hands. The first count, murder, guilty. Second count, murder, guilty. Felonious assault, guilty. Domestic violence, guilty. Aggravated murder, not guilty. Terrell showed no reaction. Amanda's daughter wept. Her brother bowed his head. The jury had spoken. And soon, the sentence would follow. But sentencing day wasn't just about legal closure. It was about voices, voices that had been silenced, pushed aside, and buried under what-ifs and maybes. There's a moment, in every trial, when words lose their power. When the legal process fades into the background and all that's left is loss. March 11, 2024. The sentencing hearing for Terrell Edwards. Amanda Williams was gone. And her family, still fractured, still raw, was about to face the man who took her from them. Not just as a defendant, but as the last person to hear her voice. That morning, the Cuyahoga County courtroom was overflowing. More than 24 people packed the benches, many wearing pins with Amanda's photo. Some clutched signs. Others held each other's hands. The prosecution stood ready. The judge, Stephen Gall, sat composed. Terrell Edwards, 42 years old, stood to face sentencing. His face was blank. He declined to speak. Not a word. Not an apology. Not even a glance toward Amanda's family. But they had plenty to say. Amanda's brother, Joey Lewis, stepped forward first. He had spoken at her funeral. Now he spoke for justice. "Judge, I can't lie. We're hurting," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "My sister was everything. She was like a second mother to me. She made a life from nothing. She did everything right." His tone shifted from sadness to rage. She trusted him. We all did. And this is what he did. Then he looked directly at Terrell. "I can't forgive you," he said. "You sat at our table. You smiled in our faces. You planned her death. I hope you never see freedom again." Joey stepped down. Next was Amanda's daughter, Tyler. Barely able to speak at first, she steadied herself. "My mom was my best friend," she said. "She was my guidance, my strength, my everything." Her voice cracked. "She didn't just raise me. She lifted me. She celebrated me. She was going to watch my daughter grow up. But now, my baby girl won't have her grandma." The courtroom was silent. Even the judge lowered his gaze. "She won't be at her 5th birthday. Or kindergarten graduation. She won't see her teenage years. She won't remember her laugh." Tyler looked at Terrell. "You can still call your mom from prison. You can talk to your family. We can't. We'll never hear her voice again." After every word had been spoken, the judge delivered his decision. Terrell Edwards was sentenced to life in prison. He would be eligible for parole, but not for 24 years. Judge Gall didn't mince words. "To say this is a tragedy is an understatement," he said. "The pain your actions have caused is immeasurable. No number of years can equate to the life Amanda lived, or the one you took away." Terrell didn't react. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He was led away in silence. But Amanda's family was not silent. "We got what we could," her brother later told reporters. "And now, maybe we can begin to heal." But justice, even when delivered, doesn't bring peace. Amanda's absence is a void that echoes across generations. Her children, her granddaughter, her clients, her friends, her church family, all left with memories that can never be updated. At a LaMode Styles, her empty chair became a memorial. Flowers, candles, letters. The clients who once came for beauty now came to say goodbye. Amanda wasn't just a hairstylist. She was a light. And now that light was gone. This case sparked more than grief. It sparked awareness. Because Amanda's story isn't just about one man and one moment. It's about how domestic violence hides in plain sight. About how silence can be misread as safety. About how women, even the strongest, most accomplished, most admired, are still vulnerable when love turns into control. Advocates pointed out what the evidence showed. Amanda had been trying to leave. And according to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the most dangerous time for any victim is right before they leave. That's when power is threatened. That's when violence escalates. That's when control turns deadly. Every year, more than 600 women in the U.S. are killed by an intimate partner. More than half of those deaths involve a gun. And disproportionately, black women like Amanda are at higher risk. Amanda Williams wasn't just a number in a study. She was a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, a mentor, a survivor, a creator. She wasn't perfect, but she was powerful. And she was trying to reclaim her peace. That's what makes her story so unbearable. She was close to freedom, close to a new beginning. And just like that, it was gone. Since Amanda's passing, her family has continued to advocate for change. They've spoken out at vigils, partnered with domestic violence organizations, pushed for stronger protections. They want Amanda's story to mean something, not just a tragedy, but a lesson. They want victims to know they're not alone, that help exists. That silence is not the only option. Amanda once used her hands to make others feel beautiful. Now her story is being used to protect them. There's a quote Amanda once posted on her salon's page. "Your crown has already been bought and paid for. Put it on your head and wear it." She lived by that. And now, those left behind wear it for her. To honor her. To fight for others like her. To make sure the next Amanda gets to walk away. If this story moved you, talk about it. Share it. Learn from it. And if you or someone you love is experiencing control, manipulation, or fear, reach out. You don't have to wait until it's too late. Thank you for staying with us through Amanda's story. If her story impacted you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice matters, and every conversation helps someone else feel seen. Subscribe to True Crime Watch HD for more cases that go beyond the headlines and into the hearts of those who live them. And if you know someone who needs help, or if that someone is you, we've left resources in the description. This was Amanda's story. And now, it's all of ours. We'll see you in the next investigation.